All right. As promised, we gave a few more minutes there. So I know people will continue to join in as we get going here, but let's go ahead and get started here. Welcome everybody to Defend, Detect, and Protect, Sharpening Your Cybersecurity Edge, a webinar presented by Upskill Academy, a division of My Computer Career, and our partners and friends over at AI Certs. So a little bit about Upskill Academy. I wouldn't be doing my job as the marketing director. My name is Lee Phillips, if I didn't mention that already. But yeah, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't mention a little bit about ourselves. So we are promoting the support of IT training and career advancement outside of the traditional classroom settings that my computer career has been known for over the years. We try to help skill IT teams of all sizes and job roles across the country to continually combat the ever-evolving technological landscape. So we have a couple of different props here. Obviously, we value our instructors immensely here. You'll see with one of our presenters today that we find the best subject matter experts to carry out our mission here. So expert instructors, unlimited potential. We offer a couple of different membership options and unlimited options that other of training providers, excuse me, does they don't provide. So we like to think that we are separating ourselves from the pack by really listening to what our students value, what their pain points are, and giving them some options to take some of these courses or get skilled in different ways. So flexibility, obviously, we know everyone works at different paths here. So live online classes, we have self-paced courses to really diversify how we can get our messaging across and customization. Obviously, every business is different. Every business need is different. So we like to really let people know that we have some customizable options. And whether you're a company of, like I think I wrote here, 5 or 500, we can get something tailored, custom, and specific to you and your business needs. Mm. So just a little bit about our offerings here. Obviously, we have the traditional courses. As mentioned before, these can be taken live online with an instructor or self-paced, depending on how you like to work. So obviously, we have a library of networking courses, AI courses, all provided by AI Certs. We have a very robust Microsoft portfolio coming very soon, as well as cloud and AI and data. Of note, we do have a lot of cybersecurity options as well, so a lot of individual cybersecurity courses. I believe the last slide of our presentation here will have a QR code if you want to get in and check out the entire list of what we do offer from a cybersecurity perspective. But as mentioned before, something that I think makes Upskill Academy a little bit different than other training providers in this space. We offer a Upskill membership. So these memberships allow for our customers to take advantage of discounted training rates on our portfolio of courses, as well as access to a library of other resources here. We offer 4 different membership plans, a free trial, which is just kind of a 7-day sneak peek at what we offer, our pro level, which is a quarterly subscription that you will get 15% off of all of our courses, all of our live instructor led courses. So a great discount there. Premier level, even better. You'll get that 15% off of all of your courses, but your first course will be 25% off. So good chunk of savings there. And our enterprise level. So this kind of goes back to every business is different and every business need is different. This is something that if you're looking to get your entire team trained in a specific way, enterprise level can definitely help you out there. Something that should be of note and of interest to everybody in this webinar today is our unlimited cybersecurity training. So again, should be of interest to everybody here because it is a one annual flat rate for access to our entire library of instructor-led cybersecurity courses. So right at your fingertips for one annual flat rate, about the price of a course. You'll get unlimited access to a course. So over 28 cybersecurity courses, 850 modules and labs, and thousands of digital resources are right at your fingertips. Oh, didn't mean to go to that one yet, but I can go ahead and tell you guys that this webinar, just a few housekeeping items here. This webinar will be recorded and distributed to everyone within 24 hours of the conclusion. There is a Q&A function. You'll see that button on the bottom of your screen. That's where you will submit any of your questions for either myself and Upskill Academy or for our AI presenter, our AI search presenter, Michael Stout. So Michael has been hacking since the 1980s, a senior technology and cybersecurity leader with over 30 years of experience helping organizations bridge the gap between advanced technologies and real business needs. Known for his business acumen, he's worked with clients across the public and private sectors to drive AI adoption, strengthen information security, and lead digital transformation initiatives. During the pandemic, he deeply delved into artificial intelligence, exploring its applications in cybersecurity, business intelligence, and executive productivity. He approaches AI from a hacker's mindset, breaking down the algorithms to understand the consciousness in AI models. He holds a master's degree in IT, very impressive, with a dissertation on cyber warfare defense. Michael has lectured widely on digital forensics, advanced threat techniques, and AI-enabled cyber risk. He's lectured and advised NATO militaries, intelligence agencies, law enforcement, and private sector organizations from Greenland to New Zealand. So, without further ado, I am very proud to turn this over to Mr. Michael Stout.
Hello. Well, thank you. And wouldn't you know it, after all that preparation, I still have a green screen. Let me give you my background here because I specially selected it. Let me come here. Where's my background? Let's see. Well, I guess I'll say I'm in San Francisco. I had it earlier. I'm actually in London. I live in London, although I'm originally from Sacramento, California. We have not lived in the U.S. for well over 25 years. Came over here during the dot-com era and have been enjoying it and working in IT since, as Lee said, since the 1980s. Real open. I'm encouraging everyone to ask questions. I do have some slides here prepared, and I do want to talk about, my experiences in the cybersecurity sector, which is I've been in cybersecurity for well over 30 years. I've been in IT all the way going back to the 80s, my first jobs, etc. But I like this to be interactive. So if you do got questions, please jot them down, and we'll come back to those at the end of the session. What I'd like to do is just kind of ask some questions here, and taking a look here at the chat, if I could. Anyone have how would you rate your expertise in cybersecurity as it is now? Are you in, oh, there we go. We've got a nice little poll here. We've got a poll. How would you rate your cybersecurity expertise? And the reason why I ask this is I like to kind of know who I'm working with here, because I can shift this one way or another. If you're all beginners, then I know to kind of put it that way. If I know that you are an expert, then I like to shift it that way. Okay. Not seeing any replies. Hopefully everyone's still there, or that I've not been disconnected. I am using Starlink, so I've got a really nice connection, although it did go out a couple weeks ago, which was an interesting denial of service. It was done by a software update, which we'll talk about here. Well, I'm going to assume that everyone's got some level of cybersecurity expertise. I see here that most are beginners, got some intermediate and some advanced. Well, you know what? You're in the right place if you're a beginner. And let me just say one thing about being a beginner in cybersecurity. If this is what you want to do, get out and just start doing it now. And the reason why I say that is there are so many jobs out there and so many people doing this work today that probably have less experience and less ambition than you that are doing it. Now, I live in Europe. I live in the UK. And we have a tremendous amount of talent coming out of our military. And all of these military people, I just try to beat into them. You've got to go into cybersecurity because for national security reasons, we need it. And they're great paying jobs. And it's really easy to get into. And as Upskill Academy is showing that there are ways to get lots of education very quickly and at a good price. My next question is, what is your current level of AI? And I'm asking that question because I kind of want to get an idea of where you are with AI. Because, of course, my big push right now is AI, and I'd like to encourage you in that, but I also don't want to go too deep into that if you're only here for the cyber stuff. So I get a question and answer on that. How deep are you into AI? Give you a few moments on that one. Okay. All right, well, that's good. You're no one's an expert, but you know what? No one's an expert. It's changing every day. And it changes so rapidly that, I find myself going back to what I was doing 2 weeks ago. And it's just like, wow, I've got to change this. It's just, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in technology for well over 40 years. And I have never seen anything move faster than artificial intelligence. It is just changing all the time. And that's good. And that can be a challenge. And we've got to find the right balance there. Cool. All right, let me ask you another question. What is your biggest cybersecurity concern going forward in 2025? Oh, there we go. What's your biggest cybersecurity concern going into 2025? And if you don't feel you have the skills, number 5 would be the answer for you there. Okay. There we go. Interesting, interesting. Let's see. A lack of skilled staff. Fair enough. Third party supply chain risk. Supply chain, one of the biggest risks we've got out there. And certainly AI can help this and also can be used against us. AI powered attacks. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. That's exactly what I expected. And have you or your organization been attacked, any type of cyber attack in the last 18 months? And then we're going to have a follow up to that. And that's going to be, do you think that it was cyber related? Or what kind of attack it was here? All right. Let's see, multiple times. Okay. Okay. No, but we had close calls. Good. Let's see. No, but none that you're aware of because, yeah, we got 0 days out there. You could very well have been attacked. You didn't know it. All right. Cool. All right. And those that were attacked, what type of attacks were they? I'm going to take a guess here. I'm going to think that phishing and ransomware are going to be at the top here. Maybe malware. We'll see. Okay, yeah, phishing is at the top. Denial of service. Interesting. Interesting. As Lee had pointed out, I have my master's degree in information technology. I did my dissertation. I did my dissertation in cyber warfare defense, and cyber warfare is nothing but a denial of service attack. And we are seeing those increasingly because of the wars going on. It's always very interesting when there's a kinetic attack that we see either before that attack or after that attack. We see quite a bit of cyber warfare activity. And do you believe, just two more questions here, do you believe that any of these attacks were AI? Do you believe that AI had something to do with this attack? Okay, possibly. Okay, no one has a full yes on that. Okay, traditional attacks, manual attacks. Good. Okay. All right. And lastly, are you using AI or machine learning currently in your strategy against cyber attacks or cyber for your cyber defense? Okay. Some are yes. Testing it, planning it, no. And that's where most people are, is no, and not sure. Okay, fair enough. Okay, good. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. That's thank you for that information. That gives me some insight into who I'm dealing with and how we can talk. Again, I'm open to any question on cyber or on the other. Let me go ahead and share my screen here to make sure you got that. Let's see, where are we at? Let's share my screen right here. And we will go with desktop 2. Voila. And let me, voila. All right, cool. Okay, so yeah, the topic is that we are looking at making you improving your cyber edge. How can you stay competitive? How can you improve your skills, etc. Now, those of you who are beginning, hey, good news, it's all up. It's all progress from here. But also for those that have been currently in cybersecurity or been around the block a few times, it's definitely a good opportunity to brush up on your skills, especially as cyber is coming in, especially as cyber and AI are kind of merging in. So what I'm going to be talking about here are going to be, let's get this going right. There we go. Going to talk about that was then, this is now, building your cybersecurity edge, and then we'll go for any questions and advice. And I have a tendency to talk, so Lee, I hope he's on the button. He might toggle me back a bit, but I'm here as long as you want me here, as long as I'm helping you out. So let's take a look. The top threats. Now, I did a talk on this last year at about this time, and I always like to do these talks mid-year because that kind of gives us we get over the holidays and we get into our new budgets. We get past the kind of the big bulk of the year, at least here in the UK, and gives us a good perspective. It's interesting because in the UK, our fiscal years are from April to March. So it's not like the end of the year is at the end of the year. So we have a bit of a respite, but it does affect kind of the natural cycles of business. And one of those cycles is going to be the attacks that we get, because our attacks don't traditionally fall around the same time as they would elsewhere, because we have different tax years, a lot of different financial activities taken on it, etc. So last year I said that, and I think I was pretty much correct, that phishing and social engineering would remain would be the top attacks, and this primarily is still true today. I mean, social engineering is the number one attack vector, and it's the number one attack vector primarily because there is no patch for human stupidity. Now that might sound kind of rude. I do say that tongue in cheek. I don't think that my users are stupid, but I see some pretty crazy stuff. Okay, I think that we've all seen it. We've all seen the user that says they have a virus, they have some malware on their machine. We ask them, how did you get this? I don't know. Well, did you press anything? No, I just opened up the attachment. Well, there you go. They opened the attachment. That's how we got the virus in, or that's how we got everything in. But social engineering will often lead to ransomware. And ransomware I see as the bigger threat. But remember, in cybersecurity and information security, we have events, incidents, and breaches. The difference there is that we have events all the time. Events happen when you get a spam message. That is considered an event. An event happens when you receive one of those vishing mails, or a vishing phone call, or a smishing text message, where someone is trying to tell you that you have to pay a little bit of money in order to get your package delivered from Amazon. It's not until you actually act on those that it becomes an incident, because events can be good and can be bad. Again, events can be me logging in correctly to my account, me logging in incorrectly. We don't necessarily monitor events as deeply as we do incidents. And in some cases, especially in the business that I'm in, where I'm the CISO of a private equity fund, we have to log incidents with the FCA, which effectively is like the Securities and Exchange Commission in the US. So when we have any type of breach, it has to be logged in, it has to be investigated, et cetera. Now, these are serious, because in the situation where we have an incident, the user had received an event, and what have they done? They have acted on that. Perhaps they got a spam message that said, please click this to download the file. They clicked on the file, it popped up their Microsoft login, which we know is not their login, and they put in their password. It says sorry, and it puts in their password sorry. But now the hacker has harvested their. Not only have they harvested their email and password, they also know that that is a valid email address. That is an incident. They have compromised our security. They have breached that first wall of our defense in depth, or our layered support. What then happens is, if those credentials that have been harvested from that incident are used to infiltrate and gain access to our network or to our data, then it becomes a breach. And that's it. There's a big distinction there, because incidents don't necessarily lead to breaches. Hopefully, we've trained our users, we trained the people that we're responsible for, that if they should make a mistake, that they will come to us and tell us. Yeah, that they will say, hey, I made a mistake. Wherever I go, whenever in my consultancy, I always try to foster what's called a zero blame culture. It's not my responsibility to be human resources. If they have broken a policy, that's not my concern. My concern is to keep the system safe. But these ransomware attacks are increasing. And ransomware, when we first had the big hit of ransomware back in about 2017, that was with WannaCry. And the idea there was that we would download some malware, it would encrypt our system, and then we would be held to ransom to get the decryption keys. Those have slowly faded away. Not to say they're gone. They're still there, and they still are a major threat, and they are going to be devastating to any organization that has one. But the doxing is where it's at now. Doxing is where I steal the information off your system, and I say, listen, if you don't give me X number of Bitcoins, I'm going to release this data into the wild, and you're going to be exposed. Now, in the UK, we have what's called the Data Protection Act. In the European Union, we have the GDPR. This can lead to significant fines of 10 million, well, the equivalent of over $10 million, or the equivalent of over $20 million of your your global revenue. So they can be quite substantial to have any type of breach like this. Cloud misconfiguration vulnerabilities. Now, these I also said would continue, and that's because we have APIs out there. We don't always secure the APIs correctly, and people can compromise, they can sniff them, or you know what it's like to install a Microsoft program, next. If these same people are doing that when they're installing our cloud infrastructure, they're not taking a look at it granularly and looking at every single item to make sure that it's bolted down and it's free of any sort of ingress, or, and for that matter, egress activity that could compromise. Supply chain, someone had mentioned that in the poll. Supply chains attacks, these are the ones that are most concerning. And supply chain attacks are generally going to be from nation states. These are going to be countries that are well-funded. They have well-funded cyber programs that are looking into compromise massive amounts of computers. The SolarWinds attack a few years ago is the one that comes to mind, where the Russian SFB got into the SolarWinds software. They compromised it. They put in an Easter egg so that when they hashed the software, they got into the code itself. And when they hashed the software, the hash matched what you would expect it to do. So when they rolled it out, that hash matched what was expected, and no one suspected anything until someone noticed something on an intrusion detection system, that something was not working correctly. Something was not acting right. And then dependency attacks. We're so dependent on these APIs, yeah, that connect things. I mean, if you're using things like webhooks, etc., have you bolted those down correctly so that that you're safe from one app to the next. And then we've got our nation state compromises. I mean, the instability of the world today. We've moved away from the stability of the 20th century, and we're in a kind of a brave new world, if you will. I'm not saying that it's the end of the world. I'm not saying that at all. But that the adversaries are getting a little more gutsy in their attacks. Yeah, I'm sure everyone has heard about North Korea infiltrating American markets by posing as American workers and getting jobs with tech companies as remote workers, and then planting malware in their system and stealing information. Well, see, that was 2024. And guess what? It's the same this year. It's going to be the same. It's not changed much. Yes, it is a bit deja vu, but what's changed in the last 18 months is the rise of AI and how AI is being used against us in against us in cybersecurity, and how AI is helping the hackers in getting things, getting their targets compromised effectively. We've got something called Ghost GPT. Now, Ghost GPT is not only a product, but a concept of products where where state actors or criminal gangs are going to be using ChatGPT without guardrails. Now, what are guardrails? Guardrails are what keep us in check when we're using these new technologies. And I just want to touch on this real quick because there's really four paths that we have today when it comes to AI governance. And this is going to affect how we approach cybersecurity in the future. Those four governance models are going to be the United States, China, the EU, and the United Kingdom. Arguably, the number one leader in artificial intelligence today is the United States. And it will probably remain that for quite a while. That's because we control the algorithms, we control the equipment, we invent the stuff. It's not saying the Chinese aren't far behind us. It's not saying they might not catch up. It's not saying they might not even exceed us. But China is really our only competitor in this market. Now, when I say the Americans, I say that because I work in Europe, so that I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about us. But I do refer to my people as the Americans because I usually speak to an international audience. The Americans have an approach of, and President Trump signed it last week, of getting rid of the guardrails. And this is going to lead to innovation. It's going to lead to growth. It's going to lead to dominance. We take the approach of break things. Yeah, we like to break it and fix it. Elon Musk launches a $1 billion rocket and explodes. What a success! Yeah, because they learned all these things. We're not afraid to fail. The Chinese have a very targeted approach. They're putting all of their efforts into a central plan. The CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, is very focused on AI. They want to overtake the United States. The Chinese have a targeted approach, and what they don't care about is the data, because it's data that's going to win this game. And the Chinese collect lots of data. They're collecting your data. They're on your TikTok. Don't use TikTok, guys. They're on TikTok. They're everything you do that touches a Chinese device. They're collecting that information. They're using that. The Americans don't have that, but we also don't look at privacy the same way as the rest of the world. The Chinese just don't care. We leave privacy up to the states. So California has a privacy law, Michigan has a privacy law, Colorado, New York, all have privacy laws that will try to guide AI. The Europeans take a very different approach. It's called the Brussels effect. The Europeans really have no skin in the game. They have two players, a German one and a French one. They're pretty good. They're nowhere near the United States. And the way that they're going to influence AI is through these guardrails that they're putting up. And these guardrails are, we've got to let people know they're using AI. So if you go to Gemini and you put in, say, make a photorealistic image of this or that, it'll come up and it'll show AI on the side. That's because the Europeans demand that of AI software that's used in their region. So they're coming out with all these ideas that, okay, we need to have all this regulation, et cetera. And because of that, it's holding them back. The UK take a different approach. The UK takes an approach of, well, let's find the balance. We got to work with the Europeans because they're close to us, but we really want to be like the Americans. So we're gonna take a more of a break it and let's move on and let's invent things approach. But the danger here is with ghost GPTs, because this is where we take a large language model and we completely take off the railings and we are the guardrails, and we are not restricting it to do anything. And this is where you get, our pornography that's made, our child exploitation photos, very off-color humor that you'll see on that some people will find very offensive. You could not generate these without these ghost GPT models. And these are the ones we have to worry about, because these are the ones that are being developed for cybersecurity, against cybersecurity. They're used to compromise our systems. It said that this year we will have $1.5 trillion worth of cost due to these types of attacks. That's a 300% increase from 2024. And the healthcare industry leads it, with the average breach of being 9.7 million per breach. That's a lot of money. So, what are the AI-driven attacks? Well, smart phishing. Phishing, we got phishing, smishing, and vishing. What are these? Phishing. I send a bunch of emails out. You get the emails. Those emails, some of you are going to say, no, that's not me. I don't go with Wells Fargo. Other people say, yeah, I bank with Wells Fargo, but I'm not going to follow with that. And another percentage are going to say, okay, I'm going to click that, and they click it. Happy days. We now have an incident that then leads to a breach. Yep. Vishing is when they call you up, and smishing is when you get a text message. Deep fakes. There was a deep fake in London 2 years ago that led to millions of dollars being exfiltrated. I think it was something like $25 million exfiltrated in Hong Kong. And it was a deep fake. What they had done is they'd set up a Zoom session, and they had the deep fakes of the other people in the group, and the CFO authorized this payment. Then we have our adaptive malware. Now, this is really clever, because this malware gets into your system, and like a traditional reverse shell, where it gets into the system and then someone is able to have this reverse shell back into your system, this adaptive malware will hunt and find vulnerabilities, report back, modify itself, and come back and re-inject. And it's a press and shoot. It's a shoot and let it go, and it'll compromise your system. These are quite clever devices. Yeah. Increases. Phishing. Our campaigns. 202%. The deep fakes since 2022. Deep fakes have increased drastically. I'm sure that's because they're brand new, but deep fakes will increase. If you see this stuff on YouTube, if you see it on TikTok, these deep fakes are very realistic. And we are getting to the point where we are just not going to be able to tell the difference. Here's something. Executives think that AI is going to have a significant, that 74% will have a significant impact. Yep. That 74% of executives polled in this poll by Cobalt state that that they will have some sort of incident, cybersecurity incident. 97% fear the incident. 75% modify their strategies, and 87% look at a long-term impact. But how much are they spending on this? How much are they spending on you to get you the training? Now, I should have asked the question, how many of you are contractors? Because that's a different game altogether. But even if you are an employee, you should live with a contractor mentality. And I'll explain that when I talk about some of the skills you should have. So the executive level is aware of the threats, but they need to have the confidence in the individuals that they hire to give them good advice. And I got to tell you that comes through thinking like an executive, that comes like acting like an executive, and that comes with the knowledge that you bring to the table. Yeah, and we'll talk a bit about that. Let's see here. And I'll make these slides available here to you as well. Now, the evolving landscape. Well, our systems are getting more complex. We have a difficulty in, when I started in IT, we didn't even have the internet. Yeah, we were lucky if we had a dial-up connection to our other location. So these were, you know, sandboxed environments. You couldn't. We had what was called a sheep dip. That if you brought in media from outside of the company, you would put it in and you would check it. And if your machine didn't act funny, then you know you could put it on the network and you could do that. But our systems are getting so complex that the attack surface is just so much greater. The idea that Starlink could lose its entire network because of one problem, because it just jumped from one node to the next and took down the system last week. Our cloud environments make our boundaries blurry. We have this idea of the demarcation. The demarcation comes back to an old piece of telecommunications equipment where the demarc was where your responsibility ended and the telephone companies began. And then that evolved to the demarc being where your responsibilities ended and the internet company began. And now we really don't have these demarcs anymore, do we? Because the cloud is everywhere and we connect to the cloud. And we're responsible for our data in the cloud. We might go to a cloud provider, and that cloud provider is providing our security. But if they have a breach, we're still responsible for the data. We're responsible for losing anything. They're not responsible. They're indemnified. Yeah. So there's this blurred responsibility. For instance, if you want to do a penetration test on the cloud environment, you better make sure that's in your terms and conditions and that it's allowed, or you could lose your internet connection. Also, the lack of governance standards in new technologies and the international instability that we have. The Chinese want to do it a certain way. The Americans want to do it a certain way. Not saying one way is better than the other, although I think the American way is probably a little more innovative. But the Chinese have a lot of say in this because, well, you know, some people just like that. Some countries just want to follow China's way and they like the money that they get. So they're going to try to adopt those standards. And those standards are going to be that the government will control AI and we will be able to look into people's AI, et cetera. And that may have benefits, but, you know, I'm worried for the Europeans who are not developing these technologies, because if we don't develop the technologies ourselves, the technologies will be used and they will be used against us. Yeah. So what are our defenses? Now, threat detection. Now, some of you had said that, yeah, you're using AI tools, but threat detection is only part of it. Anyone can run a tool. When I first started in this business back in the back in the 1990s with penetration testing, there's a program called Nessus. It's still out there. Usually you'll use Tenable now. It's owned by Tenable. And we were doing vulnerability scans. And anyone could run a vulnerability scan, but it's how you interpret those results that give you your value. Yeah. And as a cybersecurity professional, your value is what you bring to the table. And that value comes in many forms. Yeah. Automated responses. You know, yeah, we can have automated responses, but are we going to trust the automated responses? You still need to have critical thinking. You still need to be able to look at those responses. Let me give you an example. The Americans, again, and again, I work with military. One of the projects that I've been involved in is kind of looking at this program for an AI program for the European militaries and the American, let's just call them NATO militaries, although it does include Australians and Kiwi as well. In AI, what we can have, or what we will have, is we have people who are really just ready to press the button, let AI take care of everything. But the American strategy when it comes to AI in the military is to have what we call the human in the loop. Now, this is not man in the middle or human in the middle. When we say man in the middle, human in the middle, we mean an attack. Human in the loop is the opposite of that. That is someone that's going to stop something from happening without some human oversight. And that's the way we like to do things. That's the way we're looking at developing our weapon systems, is to have this human in the middle. The human in the middle is going to get this intel from the AI and then make a decision. And I would impress upon you that if you're using AI-driven systems, that you still question that, learn from it, you know, make it prove that it's what it's doing is correct. Do not take it at face value. Why? Because the AI is made by people. And someone could have put in that supply chain attack. They could have infiltrated the AI to give certain results. And if you completely just rely on AI, you're not doing yourself a favor, and you're certainly not serving your employer or your customers. We can use it for predictive analytics. I think that's fantastic. That's a great way to use it. But at the end of the day, it comes to your knowledge and your skills. AI only augments us. It does not replace us. You've heard from Andrew Ning of Stanford University saying that AI is not going to replace your job. The people that use AI is going to replace your job. I kind of have a tendency to agree with that. I like to say there are going to be two types of people in this world. People that use AI to do their jobs, meaning people that aren't just going to press a button and let the AI do it, or people that use AI to do their jobs, meaning they're going to use AI to augment what they do, but they still need to come to the table with the knowledge. And if cybersecurity is your thing, you still need to have that level of knowledge and skill to use the AI correctly so that it can benefit you rather than do your job. Because doing your job, you might as well just get an automated tool and print out a report. The human factor is still there. Again, both on the human in the loop side and the mistakes our users make. Yeah, 68% of all breaches today still involve humans. Yeah, most of them are social engineering. Social engineering is the number one attack vector. Phishing has now extended beyond email. Phishing extends to Slack. It extends to Teams. It extends to people calling up. I mean, and when it's AI driven, they are incredibly, incredibly convincing. I have a client. He's a very wealthy man here in London. His personal assistant received a text message from a known contact of his saying, "Hey, I'm in town. Let's have dinner." And so she went ahead and booked a table for them, etc. Came back. "Oh, sorry, can't make it. Okay, yeah, I'm going to be delayed." Okay, so all right. And oh my goodness, you'll never guess. I forgot my wallet. Can you send me $20? That's all it was. $20. And she was just getting ready to do it, and then the guy happened to call, and he was in Dubai. Yeah. So we don't know how they got the information, but they got this information. And you know what? If I send out 1,000 mails, if I do 1,000 of these attacks using AI as the back end with the social engineering that I use to get the information, I'm going to possibly get a percentage of those. And if everyone sends me $20, happy days. That's a good day's work. Insider threats. Insider threats are not only malicious actors, but stupid human tricks. Yeah. So I always say we've got to keep continuing to educate our people. And as cybersecurity professionals, you have to educate your users. You have to educate the users. You have to be approachable to them and to be that knowledgeable resource to your directors. So what do I see the skills? Well, the skills evolution, first of all, always learn. You have to have an always learning mentality and always up your game. If you're just getting into cybersecurity now, you're going to want to just get the basics and build on it. And believe me, that curve is up. You will gain quickly. But you need a solid foundation in security knowledge. And obviously cybersecurity, but you need to know physical security. You need to know document security, et cetera, which we call information security. We have information security and cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a subset of information security. You need to have a hacking mindset and the skills. And there's plenty of places you can get those, including certification programs. Pick up a book. Send me a link. I'm on LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn. I'll send you a couple books to look at. You need to develop your analytical skills, and that's so that you're not reliant on the tools themselves. Now, that's not to say we can't take a feed off of a tool like a Wireshark or a TCP dump or T-Shark, drop it into a large language model and ask it to interpret for us. No, we can do that. That's not a problem. But being able to interpret those results is going to be the difference between just being a processor of a document and adding true value to an organization. You got to have cloud expertise. You can't get around that. That is a basic skill today. You got to have cloud expertise. And as we move forward, digital forensics. Now, I spent a number of years in the Netherlands. I have a beautiful daughter in Holland who she's just the joy of my life. And she's 17. So for me, cybersecurity is very important because she's on her TikTok, and she does get TikTok. I try to keep her off of it, but I've lost that battle a long time ago. But cybersecurity is incredibly important. Now, when I was in Holland, I worked for the Dutch Police Academy, where I taught cyber forensics, digital forensics. That is increasingly becoming necessary. And I'm not saying you have to do a criminal investigation, because the burden for a criminal investigation is very high. I'm saying just being able to look and analyze what happened in an attack and being able to take it apart. You got to learn how to threat hunt. We've got this idea of threat hunting. With threat hunting, you assume that there has been a breach, and you look into your system, you look at the logs, you analyze them with your seams and your SOARs. And if you don't have those, then you need to implement them. Splunk, for instance. You gotta up your zero trust models. Now, the zero trust models are going to help you with your boundary issues on where is our boundary. So if every component of your network has to authenticate with the other, then you're secure from one step to the next. And you have to absolutely increase your AI and machine learning literacy and proficiency. Now, does this mean you have to become an expert in AI? No, it does not. But you need to have more than a novice understanding. You also need some non-technical skills. I was told many years ago, early in my career, in fact, I was 19 years old, never go to a director with a problem, always go with the solution. And that's what's going to set you apart as a cybersecurity professional. Your technical skills you can gain, but your soft skill and your technical skills will make you a good living. But your soft skills are also where you're going to succeed, where you're going to go higher. You've got to have critical thinking. Again, do not rely on the tools. Question the tools. Understand why something is working and why something is not working, of course. Yeah. Don't rely on the tools. Verify and analyze the results in your logs. Look at different ways. If you get an analysis off of a system, throw it into AI. Ask AI, what does it think? Build your own model in AI. That's one thing that we can do with AI search, is teach you how to build your own models, so that you don't need to have these other tools. You could build your own analysis tool very easily. Got to think out of the box. Got to think differently. And you always got to trust your gut. Always trust your gut. Trust your instincts. You also have to have a financial mindset. What value do you bring to the table? Again, it's not that, first of all, show up to work. Second, because a lot of people don't show up to work. Second, increase your knowledge. Always be learning. Always be learning. Become that trusted, valuable asset. Yeah. If you are the person that is not in cybersecurity now, and you've got people who are, and you're working for an organization, and they don't have someone who's in cybersecurity, you become that person. You become the go-to person. You become their shadow cybersecurity individual, and eventually you will get into that position, or you will jump to the next job where you will have that. How do you affect the bottom line? Again, we can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on tools, or you can spend hundreds of dollars on building your own tools. And that's where that hacker mindset comes into. I build my own tools now with AI. If I need to analyze logs, I will take logs, I will throw them through a model that I wrote. I know how the model works. I'm happy with it. I trust it, and it will point out the anomalies for me. It's so easy. I don't need to spend thousands of dollars on some tool that's going to do it for me. You want to ask yourself, how do you assist in the profitability in the company? You need to show them value. And again, you show them value by having more skills, solving problems for them, coming to them for solutions, saving them money, because you're always looking for savings and efficiencies. Sum it up, you need agility, AI literacy, critical thinking, proactive mindset, and a financial aptitude. Um, Always be learning, always improve your skills, and go for it. There's nothing that holds you back. You can do it. Anyhow, back to you, Lee.
Michael, gotta tell you, that was amazing. What a
Yeah.
great
Hey.
presentation. I gotta admit, I missed a few parts. I was on TikTok, so I didn't hear everything you said there.
Very
No,
good.
no, just kidding, of course.
Yeah.
I think we've reserved the last little bit here for a little Q&A.
Sure.
So I'm taking a look at our little Q&A section here. So Jay asked a question that you might have some insight into. What is your opinion on the new UK Online, and he puts in quotes, Safety Act, which increasingly forces users to upload PII? Where is this info held? It seems to be a huge target threat.
Okay, two things on that. First of all, it was really interesting because right now, so I'm gonna, the way I talk, I just say it as I see it. The UK Act that Jay's referring to is the one that is to prevent young people from getting on pornography, going to porn sites. And interesting enough, within 30 minutes of the act going into effect, VPN usage spiked.
Shocking.
So, once again, government does something that it really doesn't know anything about. So VPN usage spiked, and they're going to it now anyway. But yeah, that's a good question. Where is the information going? Is the information is going to those websites, and those websites you have to have the right governance in place and the checks and balances. I mean, am I going to trust my am I going to trust my information to Pornhub? I don't think so. I would use a VPN. The other thing is that's also interesting aside on this is that the UK government now, the Labour government, is talking about lowering the age of voting to 16. So I'm old enough to vote, but I'm not old enough to surf porn. Poorly thought out piece of legislation. There could be other ways of doing it, but one of the things, I've said this many times before. We could stop malware, we could stop porn, we could stop child exploitation photos if we wanted to stop those things. And some things we may want to, some things we may not want to. But in order to do that, we have to allow the government or some other body monitor our network traffic and see where we're going and see what we're downloading. And that might work for the Chinese, but it's not going to work for us. And I really see issues, Jay, in the future on what's going to happen when a Pornhub gets breached. We know what happened with Ashley Madison a number of years ago. People committed suicide because they were found out to be going to this site that basically said it was a Tinder before Tinder. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes, especially if you have some dodgy porn site that's just set up to harvest this information. I mean, I'll tell you something. Back in the early days of the internet, I don't want to spend too much time talking about porn, but I will say this thing about the porn industry on the internet is that most of the technologies we have today on the internet are a direct result of that industry. It used to be that you would go to one of these sites back in the 90s, and you would go to the internet, and you would go to one of these sites, you get free access for $29.95, whatever, or unlimited access, and you would use your credit card, and then you would go and there'd be like 3 pictures. And it looked like something your dad of a poster you saw at the garage when you were a kid, right? But they had a money back guarantee, so you get your money back. So you would get your money back, and it would come in a check, and it would come back as a check like, I looked at a pornsite.com, and that was who it was from. You would not go back to the bank. You would not take that to the bank and cash it. So you would keep it, and that's how they made their money. They played a numbers game. So the people would, a certain percentage would have no problem taking it. Another percentage would say, well, I don't want to go to my bank and put this in, so keep the money. Yeah. So hope that
Fair
answered your
enough.
question, Jay.
Interesting tactics, for
Yeah.
sure. Um, we've had a couple of questions about, getting started and whatnot. So, from Curtis, and a lot of our chats have started with good information and thank you, and people have really admired your energy and insight. I
Thank
see
you.
Robert has also said that as well. So, but Curtis asks, what is the best path for me to start in cyber?
Security Plus. CompTIA Security Plus. That's the number. That's where you want to start. CompTIA Security Plus gives you a foundation in understanding what cyber is, or it's understanding what cybersecurity is. It's going to cover your networking. It's going to cover your IP addresses. It's going to cover VPNs. It's going to cover all the basics, and it really does form the foundation of what you want to build on. I could say, yeah, jump right in and go to a CEH or something like that, or AI Certs offers one. That might be a step too far. You got to get that foundation level, because once you get that foundational level, and CompTIA offers great courses for this, but once you get that foundational level, everything builds on that. So I would start definitely with the Security Plus.
Well, we'll have to thank Curtis for segueing in that we have that CompTIA Security Plus course
Oh,
available
good,
at on our website. So
awesome, great. Yeah, that there,
unintentional
Curtis.
plug there. Thank
Curtis,
you.
that's the best investment you can make this year.
There we go. Let's time for maybe one or two more. Emily said, AI aside, what do you view as the most significant cyber threat today?
Complacency. Getting too comfortable. Complacency in two ways: getting too comfortable as an individual, with your knowledge, and not continuing to learn. And complacency from management to think that because they have tools in place, and they've got cyber people in place, that they're safe. That's where you, as the cybersecurity professional, need to educate them and keep educating them on the current threats and trends. Yeah, complacency is definitely going to be a big one. And again, complacency in just sticking with what you know, you've got to constantly be expanding.
Good answer. And we just had one question come in from Brandon. I have Security Plus and CYSA, but still stuck where to start getting into cyber. I wanted to become a system admin, but hearing that is dying out.
Yeah, but no. And the reason why I say yeah, but no is that the system admin days are probably behind us, in the sense of, here's your server. You have to look at it as, here is your management console. Here is the cloud environment that you're in, because that's what you're really dealing with today. Um, Become that resource to whomever you're. I'm going to assume that you have a job. Become that resource that people go to. Educate your managers. Educate your managers on cyber. Write your own ticket. Write it down today. This is what I want to do. This is what I need to do to get it. If you need certain certification, you've got your CISA, I believe you said. You've got your Security Plus. Let them know that. Continually learn. Go to join numerous chats that you can go to. And just keep increasing your skills, but become known as that cyber person in your organization. And if you're not that cyber person, or if you're not in a job like that now, then find a job where you can do that, or whatever job you have. Just become that person who's known as the hacker.
Mhm. Great answers and great insight as always, Michael. I like that phrase of continually learn. Easier for me to hear than it
Absolutely.
is for me to say, apparently. Um, just to kind of segue back, thank you, obviously, everybody who attended today and everyone who's registered. The housekeeping still remains true that everybody gets a copy of this presentation within about 24 hours after the conclusion of this webinar. On this slide here, which will be a part of our show, please feel free to visit the Upskill Academy website. You can see some of the courses that Michael was talking about, our certification tracks, and that unlimited cybersecurity option. And kind of check that out and see if that's something that might be appealing or interesting to you. If you have any questions, we are always here. We are a company of the people, so we are always available to chat with. If you want to drop a live chat line, we can schedule some time for a phone call to go through what problems you're facing or what your company is facing. So yeah, that this slide here will be our last one, but it has all those QR codes that you can utilize, and it'll be part of that presentation that we send out. We'll send out a survey as well, just if anybody wouldn't mind filling that out, then letting us know how this thing went. Obviously, we know how great Michael was, but we'd love to hear feedback on all aspects of this webinar. So thank you again to everybody who registered and especially everybody who attended today. What a great webinar. Thank you so much, Michael, for all of your
Very
valuable
welcome.
insight. Love that Golden Gate Bridge photo. As an East Coaster myself, I need to get back out to the West Coast. My wife is a Californian, so she would
Yeah,
love this as well.
I do miss it. I do miss it.
It would be easy to miss.
Yeah, it is.
But thank you everybody, and we will see you next time.
Take care, everyone.